So I'll just begin with the formal Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So this is a new experience for me, being here on a Sunday afternoon for a Dhamma reflection, time for some questions and answers. And also, I'm not used to offering reflection so soon after the meals. We'll see how that goes. And also, sitting in a chair is new to me too, but we figured it would be easier for people to see rather than if I were sitting on the floor. So a whole bunch of new experiences for me this afternoon. But I'm glad to be here and to respond to the request to be one of many over the next few months to offer a Sunday afternoon reflection. The theme that Luang Pa Pisano had last week, Reflections on Ajahn Chah, was a wonderful theme, and by right, I probably should be offering reflections on Luang Por Pisano's teachings, since he has been my teacher for many years, nearly 30 years, that I've been practicing under his guidance. He was the monk who ordained me at Abhayagiri 28 years ago. And I have many good stories that I could tell, but that wasn't one of the themes that was offered for choice. The themes, a number of themes, were put out there by a group of people who came up with titles, and this one kind of grabbed my attention: the world and the ending of the world, or the end of the world, because it brought up a number of themes that I've often reflected on and really appreciate from the Buddha's teachings. And it's not quite what it sounds like on the surface. So you might be thinking of the world and the end of the world as some sort of commentary on Armageddon, or somehow that the physical destruction of the world, as in some like Christian theologies, or even some of the teachings where you hear that the end of the world gradually happens through the destruction or the implosion of the cosmos into itself. But this isn't the kind of teaching that the Buddha was talking about when he referred to the world and the end of the world. It's a metaphorical phrase that has a number of references in the canon, in the Buddha's teachings, and the one that first came to mind when I saw that was one of my more favorite teachings from the Buddha that has always grabbed my attention, and it's a teaching where a deva, a celestial being, a fortunate rebirth of a very well-developed being. A deva, a celestial being, came to the Buddha, and his name was Rohitasa. And he came to the Buddha and said something along the line. He had a question, something along the lines of, Blessed One, can one reach the end of the world by traveling? Can one reach the end of the world where there is no birth, no aging, no death, no suffering, by traveling? And the Buddha's response was, no, Rohitasa, it is not possible to reach the end of the world where there is no birth, aging, and death by traveling. And then Rohitasa exclaims, oh, it's wonderful, it's marvelous how the Buddha said that. He said, because in a past life, I was a seer, also named Rohitasa, the son of an adept, a meditative adept. a skywalker was what he was called. And I had the ability as a skywalker to walk very rapidly long distances. That was my psychic ability. And I was able to reach the speed of an arrow being shot by a skilled archer. I was able to reach the stride. I had a stride that could span the length of an ocean. And so I made this determination to see if I could reach the end of the world by walking. So for 100 years, I did nothing but walk with the intention of reaching the end of the world where there is no birth, aging, death, where there is no suffering. Yet after doing that for 100 years, only stopping to eat and drink and take care of bodily functions, to rest, entire 100 years, I was unable to reach the end of the world before I passed away. And the Buddha says, rightly so, Rohitasa, because again, it is not through traveling that one can reach the end of the world where there is no birth, aging, death, no suffering. It is only in this fathom-long body, with its perceptions and its intellect, can one reach the end of the world where there is no birth, aging, and death, and where there is an end to suffering. So the Buddha was very pithy in his statement, and he was saying that it's not through psychic feats, it's not through any kind of learning, high philosophy, it's not through any kind of particular knowledge of the different philosophical schools that were extant around the time of the Buddha, which was a big part of the teachings in that time from different teachers, taking different stances on the nature of the world, the nature of the cosmos, and one's position within them, and the nature of self, the nature of being. So the Buddha was pointing to the fact that, in his teaching, he's talking essentially about suffering and the end of suffering. And that's not to be found in any kind of external object, in any kind of intellectual understanding, any kind of scholarship, any kind of particular attainment, even very high attainments in meditation that one can get involved with. That's not where the end of suffering is going to be found. But it's only in this fathom-long body where one will see where one can actually see the world, the origination of the world, the ending of the world, the cessation of the world, and the path leading to the cessation of the world. It's within this fathom-long body that we can realize the truth of his teachings. And you can see how he kind of applied the formula of the Four Noble Truths to that, but using the word world instead of dukkha, instead of suffering. And what is that pointing to? It's pointing to the world of our experience. That it's, again, not in any externals, but it's in how we experience the world and how we apply ourselves based on that experience of the world, where we can really understand an ending to the suffering that motivates most of us, I think, in terms of this practice. It's this kind of sense that dukkha, suffering, stress, unsatisfactoriness, it's this gnawing sense, even if it's of a low level of some kind. It doesn't have to be out and out suffering, but it's this sense of dis-ease, this sense of not everything is perfect. We have to suffer. We have to experience illness in the body, sometimes mental difficulties. We have to experience all the things of not getting what we are looking for. Sometimes we get things that we want, and sometimes we don't. we have to experience difficulties and pain and grief at loss. And this gives us this sense of, gosh, I can't find a complete freedom and complete happiness within the realm of the senses, within the realm of experience, within the realm of thoughts and ideas, within the realm of family, social supports, even within the realm of very high levels of meditative contemplation. They all don't quite fill the bill. They don't quite answer it. And we're left even with this subtle sense of something's not quite right. It's not, the wheel isn't turning perfectly smoothly for us. And that's actually one of the descriptions of dukkha is an imbalanced wheel, a wheel that is not turning in a nice smooth way, but is a bit wobbly or a bit off kilter. And I don't know, maybe some of you are bicyclists, but if you are, you know that a wheel on a bicycle, if the spokes are a bit unbalanced, then the wheel is a bit wobbly, or you'll get a ka-thump kind of a thing, and it's in a what they call in bicycle repair language a truing stand. You put the wheel and you watch it and you adjust the spokes until the wheel is turning perfectly straight. But I like the word the truing stand because what you're looking for is to put the wheel into true. And that's what we're looking for, to put our wheels of suffering into the truing stand to get it so that it's balanced. And that the way to do that is through looking at our experience and really examining it and seeing where it is that we're putting our energies in a way that's misapplied, that's not going to actually give us that sense of trueness that we're looking for, that validation that there is the possibility to a complete freedom, a complete end of suffering, which is what the Buddha says is the ultimate aim of his teachings and the practice that he describes. So it's in our experience, our own personal experience, that we can find the end of suffering in this fathom-long body. And there's another teaching that uses the same quote. It's a teaching, a very short teaching that the Buddha gave some of the monks along the same lines, where he says, just very straightforward, not with any preamble to it, that there is no there is no way by traveling. There is no way by traveling can one reach the end of the world, and reaching the end of the world with the cessation of birth, aging, death, and the cessation of suffering. And he just leaves it kind of straightforward and simple with that. And the monks are a bit curious and ask Ananda, who was sitting there, what the Buddha meant by that. And Ananda says, well, you should have asked him when he was here, but since you didn't, I'll answer the question. And he says, that by which one is a perceiver and that by which one is a conceiver of the world, that is the world. And it is not by traveling that one is able to see the world, the cessation of the world, and the path leading to the cessation of the world. And Ananda then goes on to explain that the world, that which we are a perceiver of and a conceiver of, is nothing other than the six senses in our body and mind. That is what the world is, that leads us to our experience of dukkha through the sense world, through the experience of this body and mind. So the world is the eye, the world is the ear, the world is the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. The six sense bases is what the world is. And it's through our gaining some understanding of how our experience through the sense bases causes us dukkha, causes us suffering. That's where the ending of dukkha can be found in this fathom-long body, its 6 sense bases. So how do we create this dukkha through our 6 sense bases? We've got this underlying tendencies. We've got these underlying tendencies of desire, of aversion, of confusion, delusion. And when these are activated, which is probably most of the time for most of us in some way or another, they seek some sort of gratification. And it's through the sense bases that those are tried, those are expressed. So that however it is, when there's greed, hatred, and delusion, desire, aversion, confusion present, we seek some sort of happiness, some sort of relief, some sort of pleasure when desire is in charge, avoidance of displeasure when aversion is in charge. And most of the time we are just wandering around in a confused state, not knowing, not seeing the world clearly as it manifests, but through our own lens of greed, hatred, and delusion. And our whole world is based on that wish, that desire to be free from this unsatisfactoriness. So we go out through the senses. We go to a sight, something that we see that is pleasing, to look for gratification. We go through the ears to look for something that's pleasant and gratifying, a sound, or taste, smells, tactile sensations, looking for pleasant experience to gratify that underlying tendency towards desire, wanting something to fill the gap of need or of perceived need. And what comes to us is a bit of gratification. We find something to enjoy in the sense world, and we get that temporary sense of pleasure through that sensory experience. And this applies particularly to the mind base also, the intellect, the realm of ideas and thoughts, emotions, relationships, all of these kinds of things, is where the mind goes out to these sense objects, looking for some sort of hit of pleasurable experience. And we do that because that's all we know. That's what we've learned to do, and we don't necessarily know of a better way to get that sense of contentment, even if it's temporary. Or we do the same kind of a thing with when aversion is when aversion is activated. So we're in an unpleasant situation, a difficulty with someone that is giving us a hard time. We have a disagreement, and the tendency of the mind is to go out and blame the object that's causing it, to try and find a way of getting rid of it in some way or another, either by some sort of extreme reaction where we try and, push back. We offer some sort of pithy remark that is intended to cause the person to go away, or to argue with them, or to move into some contentious conversation. And we feel that we might be able to get rid of that unpleasant experience simply by refuting it, blotting it out, neutralizing it, shutting it down. And that's how we get rid of unpleasant experience, going out through the sense bases to that person or to the ideas that we find challenging. So we kind of find ourselves constantly going back and forth, looking for pleasure, seeking to avoid pain, And it's based on our going through the sense bases and trying to fix the world of our perceptions and our conceptions around us. So this is how we cause ourselves suffering. The perceiving and the conceiving that Ananda was talking about is kind of the twofold way of experiencing these sense bases, so that sights and sounds and tastes and smells and tactile sensations and ideas all come in through the sense bases, and we establish a whole perceptual range of experience. It's not just the raw sounds and sights and ideas that come to us, but it's how we frame them and how we interpret them that create the world of our experience. We can call them patterns of interpretation of how we view the world. And then based on those, we also act on them in terms of, that's one of the ways you can think of conceiving, so a creation of the mind and an action that results from it, either by speaking or by acting in some way, or even just by thinking in some way, is our way of conceiving the world around us. So we're caught in this cycle of perceptions of how the world is treating us, what's happening to us, taking it all very personally, and then coming up with some sort of program or strategy to deal with it. And this is the world. This is the world of our experience, and it's the world where we create this dukkha. So this is, luckily, we've got the option of seeing through this and being able to reconstruct how we deal with these perceptions and these conceivings. And our freedom is also found within these six sense bases, this body and mind, by learning how to reframe and how to use them in a way to see clearly and to choose more wisely how we respond, and to get a sense of how it is that we create the realm of suffering in our own lives and how not to do that. And the ultimate answer is found in learning how not to go out to the world of the object, not to go out to the sights and sounds and different sense experiences and the ideas especially, not to go out to them, not to send the mind, the awareness out to them in the hopes that we will be able to come up with some solution within the realm of the senses to lead us away from that, to give us that sense of reaching the end of the world. So we learn how to contemplate the six sense bases and the experience of the senses in a way where we don't take them on as personal possessions, as who we are, and then act on them with that perception of self in mind, with that sense of there's something that I can gain from going out through into the senses, the realm of sights and sounds and tastes and sensations and thoughts. But to understand them just as they are in their natural condition, without adding on our layers of conditioning to them ourselves. And ultimately, just creating more dukkha, more suffering by reinforcing the same patterns that we've been doing over and over and over again. So this is the world, and this is where we can also find the end of the world, is within our body and our mind of the six sense bases. So the world is always, in the Buddha's teachings, is always referring to these six sense experiences. There's some really wonderful teachings from some of our Kruba Ajahns, the Thai meditation teachers that are at the root of our tradition, that point to this kind of direct experience. One of those stories is with Ajahn Chah, who, when he was seeking teachers and seeking more teachings on the path, and his first and only encounter with Ajahn Mun for several days. It was a very short period of exposure that Ajahn Chah had with Ajahn Mun, but it was incredibly significant. And after spending a couple of days with him and reviewing some of the ways of his practice and ways to tune up on it, the core teaching that he talked about receiving from Ajahn Mun was about this particular process of the mind and the objects of the mind, and how Ajahn Mun's very simple teaching, but very significant to Ajahn Chah, was pointing towards understanding the difference between and the separation of the mind and the objects of the mind. So the mind being the knowing quality, that pure, simple quality of awareness that Ajahn Sumedho frequently talks about, that quality of knowing, pure and simple as it is, unadulterated, unsullied, and the separation of that from the objects of the mind, all of the sights and sounds and tastes and sensations and thoughts and ideas that we go out to. But developing that quality of knowing and stillness so that one's mind, the thrust of the mind, the activity of the mind, doesn't go out and buy into the object as an ultimate reality, but sees it as it arises, persists for a while, as it passes away, the teaching on anicca, impermanence. But it's that quality of stillness, still awareness, the mind itself, the quality of knowing, the quality of awareness that is separate from all of the objects that can pass through the mind, through the sense bases, through the body and mind. And that was a very fundamental insight for Ajahn Chah that set him on his path to complete freedom. So not going out to the objects. There's also another Thai forest Ajahn Dun, who was a very quiet and soft-spoken monk and wasn't so well known, but was quite revered by those who did know him. And he left behind just a few teachings that were translated into English as well. But one of the famous teachings of his was a reframing of the Four Noble Truths, slight reframing of the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth being there is dukkha, there is suffering. The second noble truth being there is a cause to suffering, an origination to suffering. The third noble truth of there is a cessation of suffering to be realized. And the fourth noble truth of there is a path leading to the cessation of suffering that one can develop, the Eightfold Path. So those being the Four Noble Truths, Ajahn Dun reframed it in this kind of similar way of referring to the mind and the objects of the mind. And he kind of reversed the order, not reversed, but changed the order of the Four Noble Truths a little bit and started with the second noble truth of the cause of suffering. And the way he phrased it was, see if I can get this right, that the mind being sent out, the mind sent out is the cause of suffering. And then back to the first noble truth, the result of the mind being sent out is suffering. And then the fourth noble truth, the mind seeing the mind is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. And then the third noble truth, the result of the mind, the result of the mind seeing the mind is the cessation of suffering. So he's pointing out to the cause of suffering being that mind that moves from its solid, pure, unsullied, unadulterated position of pure knowing, the mind that then gets pulled out into the realm of the senses, into the realm of experience, looking for some sort of gratification, looking for some sort of relief from dukkha. That is basically the ultimate cause of suffering. And that the way to undo that, the way to let that unravel, is by learning how to stay just with the mind at the level of the mind. Pure and simple awareness that doesn't get pulled out into the world around it. Doesn't mean that one is not aware of the world as it comes in, but that the world is coming in through the mind, through the quality of knowing, rather than going out to that object and investing it with a sense of reality and the hope of finding stable gratification in the world around us, in the world of the senses, in the world of objects. So the mind staying just at the level of the mind, pure and simple awareness, as Ajahn Sumedho often refers to, the quality of knowing, not being pulled out through the senses. So that's what, to me, that's what this teaching, the world and the end of the world, where do we find that in this fathom-long body, with its perceptions, its conceivings, its intellect. This is where we find this is where we find dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, suffering, the end of suffering, and the way leading to the end of the suffering. It's within this realm of our own body and mind, not by reaching some cosmological end of the world. So that's all said and good, but how do we do that? That's what the practice is all about, and the developing of the sense of patience and endurance and a long-term commitment. It's not something that's realized quickly. People sometimes wonder if there is a fast, easy a way to the path of practice, and I often reflect on a experience that I had that I've expressed, I think, in a number of different reflections, but a time when I was in Anagarika, actually, and this was the first year at Abhayagiri when we first opened, and Ajahn Amaro and Ajahn Pasno were co-abbots, and I was in Anagarika, and I drove them down to some teachings by His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Los Angeles, driving down through the night for several days worth of teachings. And on the second or maybe on the third day of the teachings, it was in a big UCLA, University of California in Los Angeles auditorium with thousands of people. His Holiness had been teaching on some Tibetan theme, Tibetan subject. I think it was teachings on Nagarjuna, which actually predated when the Tibetan teachings became formulated. But he was teaching along those themes, and towards the third day or so, in a question and answer period, one person asked His Holiness, what you've been teaching, Your Holiness, is very profound and is very beautiful. And it also seems very difficult. It seems like this is a very long process. And I'm wondering, is there a way that is a bit faster, a bit easier than what it is that you've been teaching, a way to realize the end of suffering than this path that you've been describing? And His Holiness became very still at that time. And a few long moments passed, and the auditorium was very, very still, very quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And after a few moments, you could see His Holiness was starting to cry. Some tears were dripping down his face. And then after another moment or two, he said in a very, very loud, firm voice, "There is no fast, there is no easy. If there were a faster and easier path than what I've been teaching, don't you think that out of compassion I'd be teaching you that?" End of discussion. So if we're looking for a fast, easy kind of solution to our dilemmas, to this world of suffering that we experience, we're going to be very disappointed. We have to have a long-term commitment, not just to be satisfied with, temporary gratification, but to realize a true end to suffering. This is a long-term project. So anyway, there is no fast, there is no easy, but and the Buddha offers many contemplations to help us find this path within ourselves, find this end of suffering within this fathom-long body and mind. We can find the world, the origin of the world, the cessation of the world, and the path leading to the cessation of this world of suffering in our own experience through the teachings that he's offered. And kind of get back to the theme of the 6 sense bases, I've found that that's one of the contemplations that the Buddha suggests, one of many contemplations that he offers as tools to help realize this path, to help understand this path. It's actually found explicitly in the Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and the 4th Satipatthana, contemplations of Dhammas, of certain particular themes, called the 6 sense-based contemplation. And he doesn't give a lot of specific instructions about it in the Satipatthana, but there's a whole section in one of the other books on the 6 sense bases, one of the other Nikayas, the Samyutta Nikaya, connected discourses on the 6 sense bases. It offers many reflections on how to use these 6 senses as a contemplative strategy, as a contemplative tool. And I found it very useful that bringing that into the meditation as a way of directly experiencing some of these things that I've just recounted from the teachings about how to not go out and invest one's energy and belief in finding gratification in the sense bases. And it's based on a sort of a guided meditation that Ajahn Sucitto actually gave a number of years ago that I happened to listen to on a recording many years ago, and found a very, very profound and very practical way of starting to experience the quality of the mind as separate from the objects of the mind in a meditation session, a contemplative strategy, and would encourage people to maybe consider picking this up in one of your meditation sessions, one of your meditation practices. And I thought maybe just as the final bit for this talk, I'd offer a very abbreviated version of that contemplative strategy, so that you could maybe pick that up if it strikes an interest chord for you, and apply it in a session of meditation when you have a good chunk of time to do it, and to do it thoroughly. So just for the hands-on experience, let's do just a few minutes of a guided meditation along that theme. If you find a comfortable position to sit in as still as you are able to for the next few minutes or so, give you a brief sense of this particular contemplation, this strategy for examining the 6 sense bases. So just sit quietly and establish a sense of presence within this fathom-long body. Briefly moving into the realm of the feelings of the body, the presence of the body. As a whole, you can feel the soles of the feet on the floor, or where there is contact if you're sitting on a cushion, the sit bones, but the base of the body as it's grounded into the floor, into the cushion, into the chair. Just allow your attention to ground itself in this body. Letting the attention sweep up through the lower part of the body, the feet and the legs, the belly, and the back. First the lower back, the upper back, and the chest in front of that. The arms, the hands resting in the lap or on the thighs, and on up through the lower arms, the upper arms, into the shoulders. And the neck and the head. Releasing any tension in the shoulders. Releasing any tension in the jaw, the face, around the eyes. And maybe awareness of the fine sensations in the scalp. So grounding into this body. And relaxing and expanding that awareness to include the entire body all at once. It takes a certain opening of one's awareness to include the whole body. And if you want, take just a slow, quiet, deep inhalation, and then relax with a slow, deep exhalation through the entire body. And to explore the six senses, just for a moment, very slightly open your eyes and let your gaze rest either on the floor in front of you, some neutral visual experience, or the back of the chair in front of you, or the back of the person in front of you, but just to let the gaze very gently and lightly rest with the object in front of you. But starting to relax that gaze so that it's not so focused on one particular small point. Allow the light and the forms and the colors in the peripheral visual range, as well as in front of you, let those enter into your awareness. So it takes a soft focus, soft gaze. Just be with that for a minute. The very softness, you might see a little bit of form changing as there's some movement in the back of the room, if you see that, or the shadows that are cast. The change of light. But don't focus on any one particular point. allow the full range of stimulation coming through the eyes. Allow that to be known and to be experienced. Allow the awareness to be very broad and open through the visual field. It's a very soft kind of experience. See if you can keep the attention from moving out to any one particular experience in the visual field. Just let it stay very open and not moving. Can you keep that awareness very still, but open to that visual experience? If the mind is able to feel that sense of stillness, then one starts to get a sense of there is this consciousness, this awareness of the visual field, the objects that are in there, this soft focus. There's the awareness of that, and then there's the objects themselves. Get a sense for that pure knowing quality that just is receptive to these forms and colors and light. Can you experience and notice that quality of just knowing? So then you can gently close your eyes again and turn your awareness to sounds. First and probably most noticeable is the sound of my voice speaking these words. But relax that focus. It's not just Ajahn Karunadhammo speaking and the words that are coming out. There's also other sounds in the room that you can pick up on if you broaden your awareness, soften your focus. So you might hear slight sounds of people changing position, movement, or of your own body moving a little. You might hear the ventilation system, the sound of air moving through the ventilation system. The sound of somebody coughing in the outside area. Little different mechanical sounds that appear. So soften that focus, not just the predominant sound, but to be aware of all the subtle sounds that the ear can hear. But don't go out to them. Allow them to come through the hearing. And see if there's a bit of separation from that quality of knowing the sound and the sound itself. There's the sound, And there's the awareness of the sound. And then you can gently turn your attention to the thinking mind. Thoughts are a natural manifestation from the intellect, and we're not trying to annihilate them. We're trying to understand them. So be aware of any thoughts as they arise and come through the mind. Just don't push them away at this point. Don't try and get rid of them. Just see them and watch them as they arise and pass away, one thought after another. Memory might arise, manifest, pass away. A plan for the future might arise and manifest, pass away. And then sometimes there's a space in between them. And notice that as well. And then see if you can, again, like the others, tune into the pure quality of knowing, awareness of those thoughts and of the spaces between the thoughts. Just that awareness that knows that a thought is happening or that a thought is not happening. And then the body. We'll skip the smell and taste sense spaces for now because they require a lot of stimulation. So just tune into the body sensations. Feelings of pressure, warmth, cool. Motion, the breathing. The sensation of where the body contacts the surface that it's sitting on or resting on. The subtle movements that the body's always making in and of itself without any input from you personally. The body just adjusting to find a slightly more comfortable position. And then see if you can tune into just that pure knowing quality of this body, sensations, pressures, temperatures, just the knowing of those objects, but not going out to them, letting those objects of mind, those sensations of the body, flow into and through the mind, the awareness. And just notice how that quality of knowing, whether it's with the sights, the sounds, the thoughts, the bodily sensations, that pure quality of awareness, of knowing of those objects, is something that's very continuous, very unadulterated. It gets absorbed into the various objects sometimes, but then when we take the time to step back and not go out to those objects, but let the objects just flow through the awareness, we stick with the awareness, that quality of knowing. That's the same, no matter which sense sphere it is absorbed into. Just the quality of knowing is the same. And it's a very peaceful, sublime way to rest. One doesn't find the need to go out to the objects of the sense bases, body and mind, for a sense of interest, gratification. There's a sense of profound contentment and peace, just resting with the mind seeing the mind. And over time, with much practice, the disturbances that arise that pull us out from that base start to settle down, start to become less compelling, less important. And we find much more long-lasting contentment, resting with that pure knowing quality, the mind seeing the mind. So we can gently come back into the awareness of the room around us, and people here, and realize that we can keep this quality of knowing always present, that sensitivity and awareness of the knowing quality of the mind. The potential is to dwell with that experience continuously. We're not shut off to the world of the six sense bases. The qualities of body and mind, they're still present, and we still know them and experience them, but they come through the awareness rather than the awareness going out to them and manifesting, making manifest a conceived, a perceived reality that is only transient at best. So that's just a few thoughts for this afternoon's reflection on the world and the end of the world. And to take an opportunity now to take a break. It's just 3:00.
With the teaching and I was just curious to if you could say something, of the amount of work you've done with the Sangha and so on. And we were traveling at some point together with other people to, long time ago.
Yeah.
As a disciple of Talking Chodron. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah. Ajahn Sundar is recounting my long history with the Sangha and knowing her as well as many of the other members of the Sangha before I was ordained as a monk, before coming into the robes 28 years ago or however long it's been now. But yeah, just briefly, my association with the practice and the tradition has spanned a long time. And it was probably for at least 6, 7 years, maybe 5, 6, 7 years as a lay practitioner in this tradition. I'd been practicing meditation kind of on my own before that, and then stumbled across this tradition while I was living in Seattle, Washington, in the west coast of the States, and exploring various traditions. But my first contact with this tradition was through the sister of a former monk, Pabakaro. His sister, Gail Keppel, lived in Seattle, and I knew her quite well, and she introduced me to this tradition. And then over time, got to meet Ajahn Amaro on his West Coast visits, and was helping with the Sangapala Foundation, which was based in California, based here in the San Francisco area. And then just gradually got to become accustomed to the teachings, the tradition. I served a winter retreat at Amaravati Monastery here in 1992, I think it was. And then traveled some in India and Thailand. And that was the year that I got to know Ajahn Sundara quite well. And then soon after that, decided to take ordination, and that was when Abhayagiri was just opening. And when Ajahn Amaro got permission to open the monastery in 1996 was when that all happened. And I joined the crew in white as an anagarika, as I mentioned in the talk, and the rest is history. So yeah, so now it's the time for any questions related to the theme that we're talking about, or other questions about meditation practice that you might have brought with you. Yes.
Just asking about meditating during the night, for example, the evening puja, and not being able to sleep thereafter. What does one do?
Well, I think the most important thing is not to make too much of a problem about it.
Without sleep or without meditation?
Not to make a problem about not getting enough sleep. If it's a natural occurrence just from the mind being bright and alert, as long as it's hopefully it's a pleasant experience, then the more we meditate, and particularly if the mind is able to settle and relax and open, then it naturally needs less sleep for the most part. You can still rest the body by finding a position that's comfortable lying down, but I think there's a lot of us that just kind of has this expectation that we need a certain amount of sleep in order to be healthy, to function well, to get through the day, intact. So just to be aware of that particular resistance or that particular notion, that's kind of an opinion that you have, but is it based in reality? What's it like the day after? If you've been meditating in the evening and it takes a while to get to sleep, or you don't get to sleep for some time, or you only get 4 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep, or however long it is that you get when you think you should be getting 6 or 7 or 8. How do you feel the next day?
Fine.
Then
I
you
was
don't.
just
Yeah.
like, yeah. Anyways.
They're just responding to that kind of expectation that one needs a certain amount of sleep. Because we hear that message a lot these days.
Right. Do we then meditate through that, or would you just say, just try lying down? And I mean,
As much as you kind of maybe play with it and see if it feels like you've really got a lot of energy and the body just doesn't feel like it needs to be lying down, then you can get up, and if you feel comfortable and alert and awake with sitting meditation or walking meditation, then that's fine. Go ahead and do it. If the body is fatigued and tired, but the mind is bright and alert, then you might try just enjoying lying in place, but not worrying, not stressing out about not falling asleep, and then just to be with the body, be with the breath in its lying position, and see if you can just be aware and content.
thank you, Ajahn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Randula,
Ajahn.
yeah.
Wonderful talk and meditation.
Thank you.
I was wondering, you were saying about staying with the mind and the mind being pulled out. And the recent talk you gave before you left America, you talked about the asavas. I wonder whether you could make a connection between the two.
Yeah, it's a good question because the asava that Randula just mentioned, it's a word that is translated in different ways. The word that I like to translate, because it's quite descriptive in my mind, particularly in relation to what I was just talking about, is outflows. Sometimes translated as actually sometimes just the opposite, influxes, which has never resonated with me. But fermentations, effluents are other words that used in translation of the word asava. And asava, the plural, asava is referring to three underlying kind of movements of mind. Kamasava, which is the outflow or the movement towards sensuality. There's bhavasava, which is the outflow or tendency to move towards becoming or being in its most pure sense. And then avijjasava, the outflow towards ignorance, towards not knowing, is the way that it's often translated. So it refers to, these are the kind of underlying states of movement of mind that keeps one revolving in this world, this samsara, this never-ending world of birth and death, lifetime after lifetime. So it's kind of underlying fermentations or bubblings up or outflow, as I like, towards the world and towards existence. It's what keeps one going in the realm of samsara. So I think, it has that quality in my mind of the mind flowing out to the objects around it. And it, as you can see from the description of the asava itself, it's based on these underlying conditions, these underlying obstructions of mind, or these underlying, contortions of mind that are just part of our, mind habit patterns. That's what we generally find ourselves operating on. We find ourselves going out towards sense objects, which is the first one, kamasava, the outflow of sensuality towards the world around us. More subtly, but almost more fundamentally, the asava of becoming, bhavasava, that flow of mind towards just wanting to exist. I mean, or wanting in its opposite sense, wanting to not exist. That's the kind of the opposite effect. When things are uncomfortable or difficult or bad, we just want to not exist. We don't want to have to experience. But that in itself is the mind flowing out too, because even if it's something we are trying to push away, some experience we don't want to know about, then the mind is still moving. The mind is still moving out towards an object, even if it's one that one wants to get rid of. You're moving towards it by trying to push it away. So that's another outflow of the mind. Bhavasava. That's a pure wanting validation of existence, of becoming, being, as a way of establishing a sense of stability, a sense of permanence, a sense of continuity, a sense of self. It helps to reinforce our sense of me. This is me. I'm here. I'm present mentally, physically, and we're tuned into establishing and preserving that sense of self. And then the outflow of ignorance, avijjasava, is just that inability to see things clearly just as they are. The outflow of mind towards confusion, delusion, not being able to see things in terms of Dhamma. In the classic formulation of being able to see things in terms of Dhamma would be to be able to see all phenomena, all occurrences, all experience within the realm of arising, passing away, of ultimate unsatisfactoriness. It's never going to give us lasting satisfaction, the world around us and our place in it. And the quality of impersonality, we don't see that. The fact we take ownership, we identify with, we cling to all of the world around us with a sense of self in its various manifestations, gross and subtle. Even if we don't personally believe intellectually that it's who I am or that it's mine, we operate from that perception. So that's the outflow of ignorance. So yeah, I see that very much related to the topic of today's reflection, the world. It's the world, and it's the mind moving out from its home base, from its just pure quality of unadulterated knowing. It's moving out from that into the realm of objects and the realm of the world around us and the ideas. It's that outflow. It's very much how I see the word asava operating. Yeah. And how nice it is when it just kind of stops. Yeah.
Thank you. I had a question. You talk a lot about like sensual desire, right? Sensual craving, and I understand that it's like the mind that's doing it, but a lot of the time, like for instance, when someone who is smoking a lot wants to stop smoking, then it helps to not smoke, right? Like, and eventually then the mind is not really interested in that anymore because it's not getting it. Wouldn't it help to, like, in your life make rules, strict rules, and like, how would you say that? Like really have like a disciplined life where there's no sensual stimulation, so the mind doesn't get it, and then eventually it doesn't have it. How would you relate on that?
Well, I would say yes, become a monk or a nun,
Oh, yeah.
and pick up the rules of training that are around sense restraint. The monastic rules. You've been around a bit. You're familiar with them. Even just following the 8 precepts and developing a sense of renunciation and simplicity is restricting that realm of sensuality, so that you're kind of closing some of the doors
Yeah.
to find expression, because that's what our habits are. For the most part, we have a desire, and if we can gratify it, we will. We get hungry, we go to the fridge.
So-
You can't do that as a monk.
Yeah. So it would be for like lay people. It would be also good to take upon like the the rules of monastics where there's like no sensual stimulation. Would
Yeah,
that
and
be
it's
advisable?
yeah. I mean, having the status, calling oneself a layperson versus a monk or a nun, does not, it doesn't mean that you can't take on certain renunciant kinds of practices, either temporarily, like in traditional times of the Buddha, the people would take the 8 precepts on the lunar observance days for the day and the night, just as getting a bit of a taste of the renunciate lifestyle. Other lay people who haven't taken vows will take lifetime precepts, 8 precepts or even more, and then also try and reduce the level of engagement with the world of the senses. But it's careful. You need to be careful not to say that the way to deal with all sense desire is by complete removal from exposure to the world of the senses. Even as monastics, we still experience the world of the senses. We particularly say around something like the meal time. We're all we all got to eat, and there's no avoiding that.
Yeah.
And it's you can't just avoid that kind of realm of sensuality and the fact that, oh yeah, something smells good, something tastes good. But it's learning how to sense restraint, is learning how to deal with it in a way so that the mind doesn't go out to it. That you are present for the sensory experience, the ones that at least you're allowing yourselves to be present for, like eating food. But you are not staking your happiness, your internal happiness on it. So you're aware of the pleasure, the enjoyment, the pleasure of eating a good meal, but you're not attaching to it. You're not holding on to it. You're not using it as an object for your happiness. You're noticing that experience, and it's more pleasurable to enjoy a good meal than it is to to try and enjoy a bad meal. Something that doesn't taste very good. Somebody put too much salt on it or something. But so you're not trying to shut down the world of experience, and you're not trying to deny that there is pleasant experience and that there's unpleasant experience, but you're trying to hold it in a way that it doesn't. You're not dependent on it. And if it's there, if you have the sumptuous meal like we did today, and it's all present and it's there, you can take what you need for the nourishment of the body. You can enjoy the taste of it, and then you let it go. If it's just bread and butter one day because that's all that's been offered as a monastic, then you take that, you use it for the nourishment of your body, and you let it go. If there's nothing available, you fast for the day and enjoy the lightness and the purity of mind from not stuffing yourself and being too drowsy. So, and you pick that up and you use it for what's offered. So that's the advantage of, say, of being a monastic is that you're pulled into these very refined precepts where your sense desire, the desire itself, can't be fulfilled every time. There's a lot of brakes that we put on our activities, just to bring that experience up, that sense of like, oh, here's desire arising. What happens when I can't gratify it? Is there a way that I can be with this and watch it and understand it, and then see the process of the fact that, well, even strong sensual desire, if it's just held with knowledge, with awareness, and non-grasping, then it arises. There's a sense of discomfort. We think of desire as sort of a pleasurable kind of a thing, but desire is actually really an uncomfortable experience. Desire is seeking its own demise. It wants to go away. And it thinks that the only way that it's going to go away is if you get the object and satisfy it. And it does do that, but very temporarily. It's better for the desire not to arise at all. And that comes through the training and the practice and the realization that, oh, okay, well, I don't have to respond to this particular desire. I don't have to gratify it. I might have to experience some momentary discomfort as that urge, rises and wants to get and experience, but doesn't. There's that momentary, gee, this is uncomfortable. But then if one is able to stay with that and be alert to that and has an alternative like the meditation, the breathing, the awareness, then one will see it as it passes away. And it doesn't have so much, the whole process doesn't have so much impact. And over time, over a long period of time, there is no fast, there is no easy, then those habits of mind, as you were just saying, they'll, when they aren't reinforced by acting on them, then gradually over time, their impact lessens. You see it quicker as it arises. You don't get so involved with it. You don't get bent out of shape if you don't get it. And the feeling arises, and then the feeling passes away after a period of time. And it happens more quickly over time. And you just don't get so involved with it because you see the pointlessness of it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your talk.
Yeah.
I just want to ask one thing is in the relationship of families or couples, usually they will create some impact to the world.
It will create some.
Yeah, in the communication, we will sometimes create some impact to the mind. Yeah, just like the food, the same. Yeah, as the people interaction.
Right.
So if we do the meditation, we try to less and less our output every time, then we'll be calmer and calmer. But is it in the other way is lack of mercy or lack of love with them? Buddha also tells us we have to mercy to the people and feel enough. Is it quite cruel if we try to not interact so much or kind of isolation to make our mind is calm and stable? Because I know even the relationship of the family is, we don't need to attach in that. It's not permanent. So is it kind of cruel?
To try and withdraw from that?
Kind of that, yes.
Yeah, the intention of cruelty is a strong one. So I think that we all need to realize that in the realm of relationships, whether they're close relationships like spouse or partner, or son, daughter, mother, father, those kinds of relationships, or whether they're more, neutral ones, that we all have this need, I think, particularly if we have a contemplative practice, we all have this need for a balance. We need to have periods where we do have quiet and isolation because we get caught in old habits and old ways of being with people, and using the presence of other people to help shore up a sense of security, a sense of identity, a sense of participation, a sense of, security, I guess. And that's not necessarily bad, but if we realize that those conditions, the presence of those people, if that's what we are dependent on for our well-being, then we're going to suffer when that changes, and it will change when we get sick and die, or when they move on, or you go through a divorce, or your kids grow up and go off on their own. That loss is going to be devastating if that's what you've been staking your well-being on. So as you're practicing to realize that and to understand that, you need periods of time apart to experience what it's like to be on your own, to be more removed, to be able to let the stimulation die down so that you're not just constantly involved with activities of other people, work, family, vacations, whatever it is. So, because there's this tendency to just get lost in the activity, particularly related to other people. So that there's a balance that's needed for anyone who's looking to not cling to these as stable sources of happiness. If you find yourself trying to avoid all the time interactions with people that push your buttons, and you're using the excuse of, oh well, I'm a Dhamma practitioner, they're just worldly people, and I don't need to associate with them. I need my time alone, that kind of thing. Or if they're family members that you have certain obligations to, you have a family that you're responsible for, then you have to notice that quality of mind that's trying to avoid duty, avoid responsibility. And, if you have children, you've made a commitment to bring them up, and you need to do the best you can. And eventually that will reap its own rewards for them and for you. So engagement around the area of family responsibility, partners, those that you've made commitments to, is very important, and not to run away from that. But then to also negotiate the time and space that you do need to really understand what it is that, where true freedom is in the practice. So there's a balance there. But yeah, if you find yourself in aversion and running away from and feeling uncompassionate when somebody's in need, then that's not going to support your development of peace and understanding inside of yourself. That's just going to create more doubt and confusion and second guessing and regret. Yeah. Question over here. Uh-huh. There you go.
Okay, it works.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ajahn.
Yeah.
I got a question regarding the topic of trauma.
Trauma.
So this is being a topic widely expressed in the present time, usually related to some sort of psychotherapeutic work.
Mm-hmm.
And this is only for last, 20, 30, 50, 60 years. We know different type of modalities regarding working with trauma.
Right.
Buddhism is existing much longer, and but trauma, or the understanding of trauma, exists in this human psyche, as I perceive it, regardless whether we know it or no, or whether we describe it like this or not. And I think of trauma like something what can be quite a strong hindrance on the path. That's how I perceive it. Not only making our life difficult in terms of like an ordinary tasks in life, but also in a meditation practice. And I'm wondering, how do you perceive trauma, or how do you perceive healing trauma, or does it exist in Buddhism at all? Yeah, so that's my question.
Sure, yeah. No, I think, the Buddha didn't use that word in describing dukkha, one of the aspects of dukkha, but and I'm not at all an expert in any way. I was barely sort of familiar with the terms and some of the background of people who have, are experiencing trauma. But for sure, it seems like, the way that it's often described is a fairly long-lasting and persistent, very difficult way of perceiving the world based on some very strong, negative, difficult, traumatic experience. And that, people do try and work with it using meditation as a tool. But I think in my experiences is that for people with severe trauma, and where the impact of the event or these events or this whatever it was that seems to be at the base of it is so strong that it's made a very deep, deep impression in the heart, the citta. It's kind of like almost embedded in the citta and manifest in the body. Oftentimes, traumatic experience is often recognized in bodily experience, I think. But that if it's that strongly embedded, then you need somebody who's skilled in working with people through that, who have a certain base of skills and training and experience. Nothing better than experience to give one that base of ability to help someone, to guide. Just like you need, if a seasoned meditator has a physical ailment, the Buddha allowed medicine for it. He allowed, for the monastics, he allowed for you to go to seek doctors and get treatment. And, I don't think that it's any different with severe, what we would call psychological difficulties, like, severe trauma. It's if there's a way to help ameliorate it within the realm of people who can help, experts, medicine, care, then one should take advantage of that. Because just dropping into, trying to cure everything through meditation, sometimes it's not enough, or it's not appropriate, or it's just too strong. It's like I just had surgery a few months ago for a heart condition, and there was no way I was going to try and fix it by meditation. It's like it wasn't going to work. I don't have that skill. So I sought out a doctor who fixed the problem. And the same thing, I think it's true for people who have deeply embedded trauma. I think that I have known some people who work both with therapists and also who employ a very sincere meditation practice and work with them together, and in concert with each other, so that there's the insight and the talking, the sharing, the relationship with another human being who understands and can help guide a person through the process, and at the same time developing those inner resources through wise reflection, how to use the body, contemplation of the body, contemplation of the mind, to deal with them to deal with the difficulties on a broader level, on a more long-term level. So you gotta have the treatment to address the impact, And then you also need the long-term strategy to understand it in relation to the greater picture of dukkha and the ending of dukkha. So it's a manifestation, and it's something I think people can learn from, but need the proper supports on both sides of the equation. It's my take on it anyway. But I think the Buddhist meditation practice can offer a lot, because, at least in our tradition, not all meditation traditions, not all Buddhist traditions, but there's a strong emphasis on body awareness. And from what I understand, there's a lot of the traumatic experiences can be known through investigation of the bodily experience, and how the psychological trauma manifests and can be known through body awareness, and how insights and how it can be ameliorated through that bodily awareness. And I think the Buddhist meditation tradition has a lot to offer in that way. It's in this fathom-long body. Some question over here.
Thank you very much, Ajahn. What advice would you give for lay people to improve their meditation practice? I know that with daily life there are a lot of distractions, and I also know that 5 precepts is very important. But in addition to that, to bring your meditation practice to next level, there are times when time goes on, but there's no improvement at all. But there are times actual improvement we can see. Then when we are in the face of difficult situations, like meditation practice stagnant throughout the time, so what advice would you give to improve, to bring it to next level? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a problem for lay practitioners. There are many monks and nuns who have been practicing for many years, and we all go through periods of inspiration and stagnation. It's just part of the natural human cycle, and how the practice unfolds for most people. It's not, this wonderfully beautiful, perfectly, linear acceleration from ignorance to bliss. There's a lot of ups and downs along the way, and sometimes those downs can seem very, very long and entrenched. And plenty of monks and nuns get lost in that and will disrobe just because they feel like their practice isn't going anywhere. I think for you mentioned the amount of stimulation that's going on for lay people, and one of the answers is to try and help reduce that. As a lay practitioner, you don't have to take the precepts that a monastic takes to work with simplification. We use the word renunciation, but that has kind of a negative quality to some people. It means like, giving up fun, giving up pleasure, giving up enjoyment of the world around us. But the more we can simplify, if we use that word rather than renounce or renunciation, we can see the advantages of that. It's like, if we don't have to be involved with the world of always having the perfect, material qualities in our lives, the latest electronic gadget, or, the biggest improvement, or, the entertainment, whatever it is that we find distracting, the more we can simplify and let go of that and restrain our tendencies to just go for it, and say, okay, well, do I really need that? Do I really need to do that? Would it be the end of the world if I stayed home tonight and just, read some Dhamma or sat and listened to a talk rather than, go out and have some fun with my friends? Do I, what am I looking for? So you have to introduce that quality of simplification into your life, whether you're a layperson or not, a monk or nun. So simplify, and then also, even if you've got a fairly consistent practice over many years and you find yourself going through the doldrums, that kind of stagnant period, sometimes it's useful to go back to and really contemplate when you started practicing. What was your inspiration? What was going on that caused you to pick up an interest in this to begin with? Was it some sort of passing interest that caught your attention? Was it some sort of difficulty or suffering or some sort of insight that, boy, there's got to be more to life than this? Where is the long-term sense of happiness to be found? Is it in the realm of senses or family or relationship? Is that where I'm going to, is that where I'm going to find long-term gratification? Where do I want to be at the end of my life? When I look back, when I'm on my deathbed, and this is where death contemplation is a very, very useful tool. When I'm getting close to dying and I'm looking back over my life, what will I say? What will I wished I had done? How would I have wanted to have spent my time in a different way? So bringing that up as a contemplation here and now can sometimes help rekindle that original energy that said, okay, this is why I want to practice. This is why I want to practice. And to make that commitment, no matter how boring it is, or you feel like you're caught in a rut, well, turn that into your investigation. What is it like to feel bored? What is it like to feel like I'm in a rut? Can I sit with this? Can I not succumb to restlessness and distraction to try and get rid of that unpleasant feeling of dullness, of boredom, of uninspiration? Can I be with this? Can I get to know this as a quality? Can I investigate it and see it in its true form through meditation or reflection? And then can I find a theme to contemplate that I do find inspiring? What in the past inspired me? Or there's some teachers that really, resonate, that I really resonated with. Maybe I should go back and listen to some of those old talks that got me going. So whatever you can do to rekindle and re-inspire that sense of, why am I doing this? What's the importance of this? If I don't do it, what's the long-term consequence? Will I have regret when I'm on my deathbed? Will I, what will I wished I had done? And then you do it. So those are themes to bring up when you're feeling kind of unsure and confused and lost, and does this make any difference anyway? Those kinds of questions. And to see the effect of that on your mind versus the effect of really pulling yourself up and looking for something inspiring, going to a teaching, talking with some Dhamma friends, taking some time for a retreat, just kind of pulling yourself out of the rut. Yeah, and simplifying your life. And doing something for other people, generosity, giving of yourself is a great way to pull yourself out of yourself. It is now 4:00, and I think we should call it a day.